Hello, my name is Isabelle Arvers. I'm an art and game curator, and I've been curating art and game events for 20 years. And last year, I decided to embark in a world tour that brought me to Asia, Latin America, and Africa, trying to focus on female, feminist, queer, and decolonial practices. For Africa, I had the time to be in Nigeria and in Ghana, and then I got stuck there because of the pandemic. But so I couldn't meet in person everybody that will be with me today, but I'm so happy to have you with me today. Limpho, Eyram, Setriakor, Afrane, Hugo. Yeah, it's and Julien, sorry. It's really great. I am currently in Togo, and so we will have some pre-recorded presentation and some live presentation. Please feel free to ask us questions, and we will have some time for the Q&A at the end. So first, I would like to introduce you to Hugo Obi from Malio Studio in Nigeria, who will give a live presentation. Really happy. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, hi. So I am a game developer based in Lagos. We've been around for a couple of years, building mobile games. And I want to talk to you today about sort of like the emerging trends and patterns that we have seen in more recent times in Nigeria. I mean, like Africa generally, we're seeing a lot more interest in collaborations between various studios across the different continents. So there are quite a few channels where there are active conversations taking place. So I feel like the game audience and the game community in the continent is a lot more integrated. There's a lot more oversight in terms of activities happening in different countries. Within Nigeria, we still have our traditional challenges around content development. Talent is obviously a very key component to building great quality content. Even though we do have a very large, attractive mobile market for game consumption, creating games isn't very easy because of the talent, the talent shortage and the talent gaps that exist. So that's been our experience. We particularly have focused on mobile, you know, because it's the number one channel for the continent in terms of consuming information on the internet. We've also stuck to casual and hyper casual games, partly because of the talent limitations that we have, the skills and knowledge gaps that exist, and you know, just the ease of getting products to market. You know, we don't have 1 year, 2 year development windows. We can't afford that. So we pretty much concentrate on shorter development cycles. So 2 to 3 months, typically, to release a new title. Now so that's kind of like what we have done. More recently, going into 2020, we were actually looking to expand our production capacity. And one of the key components to that strategy was training interns. So we actually developed a full training curriculum using Unity and did our recruiting for talents who were meant to commence training on the 1st of July. So this was right at the start of the lockdown. So that was a little bit of a shocker. And the thinking around this was that obviously there are loads of concepts and ideas out there. So we can't claim to have, monopoly over the greatest gaming ideas. And, because we have a very young population here in Nigeria, the median age is around 17. We saw an opportunity to find, and obviously we also have issues around unemployment, like most other emerging markets. We saw an opportunity to attract young graduates, especially graduates from the STEM background, upskill them in the tools required to understand game development, using a lot of freely available content on the web, and provide support to them as they go through this curriculum, and then push them out there and see if we can find anything that sticks. That was kind of like the strategy. And the reason why we went with this strategy was that our experience hiring talents locally wasn't the best, because a lot of the individuals that we found were mostly self-taught individuals. And they learn the skills, and they get stuck in their ways and methods, and a lot of them don't actually have production experience. So they've built a lot of stuff, but it's not stuff that is publicly available. It's not stuff that has gone through quality assurance, as most of the stuff that we would go through. It's not stuff that has like a vast public reviews and feedback. So we saw that was affecting the quality of the content that we were able to create. And because of the, because of the experience that we've had working both with local and international partners, we thought that maybe we could structure something that would help guide a lot of these young folks into acquiring a life skill, because I think that that is one thing that gaming does provide, is a life skill that can be utilized, and it's also transferable. So even if they don't necessarily have a career in game development, they can also explore careers in other forms of computer science. So that was a strategy that we wanted to implement, and that didn't go as planned because of the lockdown, and the lockdown that happened as a result of COVID-19. We did, however, still run the pilot program remotely. So essentially what we said to the guys who were pre-selected was, stay wherever you are, and we would provide you with allowances to support your data costs in most cases. Obviously, we don't have the resources to provide support for power, but at least on the data side, we were able to support them on it. And the experience has been mixed, right? Because one of the key attributes, or one of the key components of our training program was providing the physical infrastructure, right? So providing an office space, providing power over a certain period of time, providing internet, guaranteeing them internet, because obviously a lot of this learning requires them to consume a lot of data. They need to power their computers up. So that was a key selling point for the program. But because they had to run the program remotely, we couldn't provide them all of that. So we had mixed experiences with some folks who didn't have constant power supply, and as a result weren't able to meet up with their deadlines. Data connectivity patching in some cases, and data costs with some providers very expensive. So it was kind of very, very mixed. But in the end, I think we have 2 people who are completing the pilot next month. So they've been able to go through the program. They've essentially been able to upskill themselves, and they're currently working on their own individual projects. So we keep our fingers crossed and hope that they can come up with something that at least we can use as the basis, because the idea of the part of the idea of the program was for our studio to have great fresh ideas that we can work with. So if they're able to come up with great prototypes, then we can then make a decision whether we want to then take those prototypes into production and then provide all the resources required to move them into production. So that's kind of the thinking around our training program, which again is kind of key to our strategy for having fresh content pipeline into the future. So that was again part of the thinking is, how do we come up with great ideas that might stick, beyond just the few people that we have within our studio. So that's, I think that's kind of a summary of what we've been up to. We have a couple of games actually in early access. So we're currently working on on a new title. a redesign of the classic What card game. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the What game, but that's something that's a popular card game here in Nigeria. So we've been working on that, and we have that on early access at the moment. So if you search for What Kings on Android, you should be able to download it and preview the game. So we're looking forward to releasing that next month. But that's something that the studio itself has been working on. So this is not part of the training program.
Thank you very much. And about this issue of supplies and resources, I was discussing with a design school in Cotonou in Benin, and they told me that they even gave some computers to the students because they didn't have the right computer. So even the school provided for during the pandemic. It's an issue as well. Thank you.
Yeah. So let me touch on the point of how it's been working remote over the last couple of months, because I think like our situation is quite unique in that sense. So we actually saw a lot of value from the remote work experience. So on average, most of the guys that work at the office probably spend about 4 to 5 hours travel time every single day to get to work and get home, which is obviously a massive strain. So last year, or towards the end of last year, we made a decision to do two things. So one is to have early finishes, so like allow the guys to get off at around 3:30, so that they can at least beat the rush hour traffic and maybe get home before 7. And secondly is to have them work 3 days at the office and then do 2 days at home. And again, it was to help with minimizing the travel time and also, supporting them with reducing their travel costs. Because we saw this as a heavy burden on their part. So with the whole lockdown, obviously everybody being forced to stay at home, we've actually seen an uptick in productivity in our experience. So they've been able to work far more efficiently, mostly because of them not having to wake up so early to get to work. And obviously, because everybody's locked down, then working, not necessarily around the clock, but they're almost available most of the time. We also had to make provisions for them. Sorry, have I gone over my time?
But please finish your sentence.
Yeah. So we also had to make provisions, power banks, internet allowances, and in some cases also do computer replacements because of the battery life that the computers have, just to enable them to work. And the good thing is, in terms of staff morale and productivity, we're seeing those two up way higher than ever before. So we're getting very, very good positive feedback from the team around them enjoying this new form of work. So going into the future, I think that this is most likely the way that we would continue. I've been working as well from home. And actually, even though I do have the option of going to the office, which is not very far and is very, very safe, I actually think the productivity working from home, makes no difference. So for me, it's been like that.
Thank you very much, Hugo. But I think, yes, that's what amazed me when I went to Nigeria, also to Ghana, is the way we can try to imagine things under constraints. And thank you very much. We can go on with the discussion after the other presentation. I would like to introduce you now to Afrane Akwasi, who is a game artist in Kumasi in Ghana. And I will ask you to launch the first video, please.
Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be part of this year's Amaze Total Digital. My name is Afrane Akwasi Bediako, popularly known as Makov, and I will give you a brief insight as to my practice, and then I'll follow it up with my current game project. Yes, so I am a multidisciplinary artist whose practice focuses on the inverse of the relationship humans form with electronic gadgets. I work with the discarded ones, because I believe when humans form a relationship with these electronic gadgets and they discard them, they kind of sever this relationship, and these discard electronics gadgets still hold on to some of these history they shared with the humans. So I come in as an artist, and then per my intervention as an artist, I will act as a prosthesis to these discarded gadgets, and it aids me to transform and enhance them into organisms I term as TRONS. So as you can see here, these are examples of the kind of electronic gadgets I work with. Yeah, so for the transformation process, this is how it works. I get the gadgets, I take out the casing, and then I start by transforming them into these TRONS, as you can see within the picture. Yes. And also, as an artist, I believe in the idea of interactivity and also reaching out to audience through varied available platforms, both physical and virtual. So after these TRONS are created, like they are created physically, I also convert them into digital models as seen here. So I have been experimenting with VR, AR, video, 3D animation, and gaming. I'm still looking forward to experimenting and exploring novel platforms. Yes, so as a gamer, I am very fascinated about this open world environment explored mostly within the adventure games, and then I borrow from this culture to create a game that will actually take audience through my thinking process or my mind, my working processes, studio, and exhibitions, all within a virtual space. So I'll quickly take you through a game I'm working on currently in Unreal Engine called the TRONS Factory. Alright, so let's start our TRONS Factory game. Get to experience the TRONS. This is one of the TRONS. And then there are also videos I've placed within the world for the audience to get to know some of my exhibitions. This is also another video. So within here you get to see commentary boxes, which gives you a brief description as to the TRONS. So you have this one, T3, functionality for discarded AM from radio receiver. That's it for now. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Afrane. We will perhaps have the chance to discuss a little bit after the presentation. To stay in Ghana, I would like now to introduce you to Eyram Tawia, who will present the different projects of the game studio Leti Arts that is in Accra. And I called the video too, sorry.
Hi guys, my name is Eyram Tawia, and I'm the CEO of Letty Arts, and I'm excited to present to you what we've been working on for the past years that we've been in operation, and also what to expect from us from the coming years to come now. So I'm just going to dive in and show you what we have in store. So I'm going to take you through our in-house projects quickly. Africa's Legends, as I mentioned, is a franchise made up of elite superheroes who, from different parts of Africa, and loosely tied to traditional traditional or folkloric stories or icons, brought into the 21st century to fix Africa. We have them in games and comics, and these are some of the comics that you can see, or an overview. On the left, we have the comic, and on the right, we have one of the games that we built. Episodes from the comics as well that you can see flowing on the screen. Then there's a new product, Africa's Legends Reawakening, which we are working on, and this is treated like, this is from the Reawakening universe. So we have two universes, the Legacy universe, which we saw earlier, and then the Reawakening universe, which is a new universe. And this game is actually being designed as a AAA game, but playable by text as well. And it cuts across platforms. And Reawakening has been in the pipeline for the past 3 years, and we are actually seeking for bridge investment to be able to complete this and launch on the continent for everyone to be able to enjoy. These are some of the artworks from the game. Our work processes in developing these characters involves a lot of research that we do. So, for example, this is a character from the Dogon tribe called Tolo Sagala, who is the leader of the Africa's Legends. And you can see on your screen how we research. We look at different types of tribes and references. So the masquerade is the superhero form. That's what we are envisioning. And these are some instructions that we write here for whoever is developing it, and samples of how it's visualized. We do the same for every tribe. Anansi from Ghana, so you can see the Kente references and other references that we pick from. Then we visualize it nicely in color. The same we do for the Maasai, Kenyan hero, and we try to visualize it. We do the same for Nigeria. We try to visualize it and take references. Yeah, and then we do for villains as well. And not to say that because he's white, we are saying villain, but this is actually a villain. Paul Rhodes in one of the African countries. So Africa's Legends Reawakening has a universe of very vibrant characters that you should expect to play as. The next is the Afro Comics product, which is our publishing platform, which seeks to fix the fragmentation that we have in Africa, right? It has a very sleek interface, as you can see. You can download on the Google Play Store now and read some of the content that we have. And we support animation, comics, wallpapers, and mobile games. So for the past years, we've seen that our efforts on the continent has also spawned a lot of other game companies across the continent. A lot of quality digital artwork are being produced, but they are all fragmented. So AfroComics seeks to bring all these together on one platform. On the platforms, you can see have wallpapers like these, like this, same as this as well, like quality African content from artists across the continent. The third product is Kamza. So Kamza is a game and comic. Kamza is a superheroine living with cerebral palsy, developed by Farida Bedwe, one of our writers. and who also lives with cerebral palsy. So these are visuals from the game. And then we also have visuals from the comic, as you can see on the screen as well. And this is also the visualization of Hamza.
Power belongs to all of us. How you choose to use your power depends on what you want to change in the world. Whenever Kamsa fights, our world becomes better. She is a conqueror, and so are you.
These are some of the concept arts. Kamsa is called Moroa before she is Kamsa. And then these are some of the characters that feature in the product. Yes, so basically these are some of the projects that we are working on. But I also have a book, my book that I published, which happens to be one of the first books in gaming on the continent. Then to wrap up, we have a trivia platform that we call the Hot Seat, which is customizable for different things. So as you can see, Africa's Legends has a trivia as well on the Hot Seat. You can choose avatars that you want as quiz masters, and you can also brand it to look as such. So you can see the quiz master Kofian and asking as questions branded for certain purpose. So that is a way to, that is our trivia game. So that is how our trivia game looks like. And it's playable cross-platform. You can even play on smart TVs and all of that. Then we are also in partnership with a company in Nigeria called Limpho Africa. We built a game called Into the Wild, as you can see, which is a hex 10-based puzzle game set in the wild African landscape. So it has very realistic graphics that you can also explore. To end it, so nice having you, and thank you for this opportunity to present to you what Letty Arts does. Yes, bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Eyram. Thank you so much. We will go on with the discussion after. Now I would like to introduce you to Setriakor Nyomi. We're gonna stay in Ghana a little bit more. I met Setriakor in Accra, and he's going to introduce in his game Mancala. And I called the video 3. Thank you very much.
Hi all, my name is Setriakor, founder and lead designer of Grey Parrot Studios. This is a short walkthrough of our latest game, Mancala. Mancala is a spiritual success to Oware 3D, a game that was released about 6 years ago to wide acclaim, especially across West Africa. The key differences between Mancala and Oware 3D is just options. Oware 3D was basically limited to one type of rule that you could play, which was basically the Oware game that's played in West Africa. There are actually 2 variants that are played in West Africa, and both are available in Mancala. Mancala, unlike Oware 3D, actually has a variety of options. You can choose between multiple boards that are available, some free and some are on sale. You don't have to buy with actual cash. You can just play through the game and continue to earn calories, and you can use those calories to buy the boards, or you can simply buy calories with cash and buy boards in the game. There are about 9 boards on display, and you can choose from any of the 9. But outside of the boards, you can actually do much more. You can also choose from a variety of rules. There are currently a total of 9 different rules that are played across the world, from Southeast Asia all the way down to West Africa. Regardless of the style you play in, you have a total of 4 different levels of AIs that you can play against. And each of them comes with a very unique playstyle, a unique set of strategies with which you can play. We actually encourage players to explore play styles outside of the ones that they are comfortable with. So if you're a West African who's used to playing Abapa, you probably want to check out Sunga from Southeast Asia, or Kongak. Those are all very interesting kinds of rules that you can play, or even Spiel, which is also played in the Baltic regions. It has actually been interesting working on this game because as you work on it, you realize that it's not played just in the parts of the world that you thought they were available in, but it's played across different parts of the world, and it's played in a myriad of different ways. The whole objective of creating this game was to have an amalgamation of all the different ways in which this game is played around the world. So no matter where you come from around the world, you can play the game and you can enjoy it pretty much the way you know how to, or even explore new ones. The options really are yours. There are a couple of other modes that you can play other than the single player mode, which you play with their 4 levels of difficulty. You can also play with, you can play in challenge mode. What that is for every set of rules, for every rule, so let's say if you're playing Spiel or Abapa, you have a total of 48 different challenge sets that you can play, and each of them comes with a set of objectives. So what you want to do is to complete those objectives, and if you're able to complete the objectives, you get all of the stars for that particular challenge, and then you move on to the next one, and you have progression that way. As I said, there's 48 of these for each rule, so if there are a total of 9 rules, that means there are 9 times 48 challenges that you can go through. Now, not all of them will be available at launch. We'll make a couple hundred available, but over time, we'll be rolling out more of the challenges in challenge mode. The last mode that there is as well is the online multiplayer mode, and what this basically allows you to do is to play online with challengers who are also available online, who are playing the game. This presents some interesting opportunities for players to be able to play against each other. For now, there's no wagering or any kind of betting or money exchange that's involved, whether it's in-game currency or actual currency. But if you do win a game, you do earn some points for winning said game. There are also leaderboards being built into, so over time we want to be able to explore the options of displaying players and their progress on leaderboards. What you might have noticed though is it actually features a number of vanity items which you can access either by buying or by winning some of the challenges that are available. So in the case of some of the players that are playing online, for instance, you can see some of them have like a set of rings, and each ring is associated with your ability to complete a set of challenges. So this is something that would sort of be recurring seasonally as well, where you have a different set of items that you can have on your hands or on your table or on your board in a seasonal fashion. Again, you can either use the in-game currency to buy these things, or you can buy currency and then use that in-game currency to then purchase vanity items which you can show off to your friends online when you play online. In designing the online multiplayer mode, we wanted the idea of being able to join an online game to be as fluid as possible. So what this means is you can opt to enter into any online game regardless of what you're doing in the game. You might be going through a tutorial, or you might be checking out a board. It doesn't matter. Regardless of what you're doing in the game, once you receive an invitation, you are free to accept that invitation, and it takes you right into the game without interrupting your experience in any way. You're also free to choose between a number of different personas in the game. So whether you're coming in as a Caucasian or a black person, or a man or a woman, you are able to choose whatever personality best fits you, and you are able to show off that personality online. So that's it. One Mancala is basically a revisitation of an ancient game and giving it a modern touch and making it available on mobile phones and allowing people to have a very social, meaningful experience with it. It will be available on Android and iOS in Q4 of.
Great. Thank you very much, Setriakor. just read some comments saying that it's one of the best Mancala games they ever seen. So congratulations. I'm really happy about that.
Thank you.
Sorry, we can talk a little bit more after the presentation. Now I would like to introduce you to Julien Herbin, who has a game studio in Senegal. So we didn't have the chance to meet in person, but I'm really, really happy to introduce you to this work. Please, if we could launch the video for, thank you very much.
Hello, and thanks for joining. My name is Julien Herbin. I'm the founder and CEO of a game development studio called Kaifo and based in Dakar, Senegal. I want to thank Isabelle for inviting us to join that session today. Today we're going to show you two of our games. One is called Clean My Beach and the other one is Ama, A Quest for Light. But first I would like to introduce you to my team.
Bonjour, c'est Binta, game designer à Kaifo Game Studio. Clean My Beach est un jeu d'adresse conçu pour smartphone et tablettes. Il est né d'un constat général assez dramatique sur l'état des plages et des océans un peu partout à travers le monde, où on trouve de plus en plus des tonnes et des tonnes de déchets qui nuisent à l'écosystème marin. Et fort de ce constat, Kaifo Game Studio s'est décidé d'allier l'utile à l'agréable, d'éduquer par les jeux vidéo à travers Clean My Beach, qui est un jeu qui sensibilise sur le ramassage des ordures.
Hello, my name is Mohamed Lo. I'm a 2D and 3D artist at Kaifo Games. I'm going to talk about the art in Clean My Beach. We really put the emphasis into saving our environment. From the elements you throw in the trash to the animals you unlock the further you play, and the fact that the more you play, the more you will see your own environment who was once empty now then will beam with life. Like you will see animals, happy animals, and we really wanted to show that part in which, like, if we just do our basic civic part, we can actually save our planet, we can actually make our planet better, and make our wildlife better.
And now I'm delighted to announce a new game we've been working on. It's called Ama, A Quest for Light. It's a game set in Dogon territory in South Mali, and it's an exploration/puzzle game while you will play as a little girl and will have to resolve a bunch of mysterious puzzles. And for the first time, we're going to play the trailer for the game, which is set to release next year. We hope that you've enjoyed what you've seen. We are Kaifo Games, a game studio based in Dakar, Senegal. You can visit us on kaifo.games. Don't hesitate to reach out. And thank you very much for watching.
Thank you so much for sharing. Really happy to discover the new project. And now I would like to invite on the floor Limpho Dee Moeti, a game developer, designer from South Africa. Please, welcome.
Hi, everyone. So I'm doing mine live, and I have a nice, exciting thing to share. All right. Okay. So my talk that's going to be definitely 7 minutes is called The Importance of Being Authentic. And it's talking about the commodification of Black pain. So what I'll be doing in this talk is sort of looking at the issues surrounding how Africa as a continent is portrayed in pop culture, as well as the way Black stories and narratives are portrayed in pop culture as well, and how that relates to the vision for the studio I currently work with, Nyamako, and how our vision for the kinds of games we want to make is different from that, and how I think that's an important part of game making and producing pop culture is sort of upliftment, pride, and joy in our heritage and culture. So let's do some introductions. Hi, I'm Limpho Dee Moeti. I am the producer and business developer for Nyamako Studios within South Africa. We're a new indie studio, and just to give you a little taste of what we feel, we're very much focused on making African-inspired games for a global audience, developed specifically by African people of color, which I think is pretty exciting. So I just want to start off by talking about some of the problematic aspects of how pop culture portrays both Africans and Black people around the world as well. So the first thing I want to talk about is how Africa is often seen as savage, underdeveloped, uncivilized, and it's a really problematic thing, right? I think that a lot of narratives try to focus on everything that's sort of going wrong with the continent, or in a very kind of dark continent kind of feeling where it needs to be discovered and fixed and solved by others outside of the continent. And beyond that, we also have this idea that it's just like wild animals just roaming wherever you go. I mean, I have a cat, but I always joke that I have a lion, because to a degree, there's still that expectation of a lack of development on this continent, which is quite problematic. Another thing to touch on that I think is a big problem in terms of how we are portrayed as a people, both the continent and Black people all over, is it's a very homogenous view. It's this idea that there is one Black identity or there is one African identity. And I think that that makes it very difficult to have a voice and to speak about your different experiences around the world, because it makes you feel like there is the quote unquote correct way to be Black or the correct way to be African, which we'll show you why that's nonsense. And finally, the commodification of Black pain, I think, is a very important thing. One of the biggest things I've noticed with a lot of like very popular stories up until almost very recently is that Black pain and struggle feels like a cornerstone of the stories. Either, particularly within like series and movies, characters, if they're Black, either it's about the struggle of being Black. If we look at the past, here's a great photo. It's the struggle of being Black and how difficult it was to be Black in the past. If it's set in the present, even fantastic shows such as Atlanta, which I have up on the screen here, I love the show. Also, a big cornerstone of it is the struggle and the difficulty of being Black, and like how difficult it is to survive. And sometimes we're just not in the future at all, where my favorite example of this is a comic book series called The Legion of Superheroes, which up until the 2000s had 15 people on the superhero team. Not a single one of them is Black. It's set in the 31st century. None of the supporting characters are Black. None of the background characters on the panels are Black, to the point where they had to create a reappearing and disappearing floating island / planet where all the Black people were, to explain why there were just no Black people anywhere in the story. And I think that's ridiculous. And so that brings us very nicely to the studio and Yamakop and what we want to do. So I have this beautiful picture up, I'll explain it in a second. So we want to make African-inspired games for a global audience created by African people of color. And a big cornerstone for that is not only drawing from Afrofuturism and African science fiction, or as I like to call it, because I'm a millennial, Afro sci-fi, is that we want there to be authenticity in the kind of stories that we tell. We don't only want to focus on stories and narratives derived from the continent, but we very much want to create characters that show the different kinds of cultures and traditions and heritages we have on this continent, that shows the wide plurality of Blackness on the continent. I mean, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different cultures on this one continent. And I think that for us, when telling these stories and setting it in the future and being aspirational and powerful and creating powerful stories that show love and joy and pride, we also want to remember that importance of highlighting each culture. So on the slide I have up right now, I know this is not very video gamey, but I'll get there, I swear, so on the one side in the yellow, we have a Siperi traditional wedding outfit, but also in the modern day, showing sort of that growth of our culture, where we're not just uncivilized savages or cultures on backwards, but showing how they grow and change and become gorgeous. We've got my culture, my heart, the Basotho in the middle with these beautiful Basotho blankets that's part of the traditional wedding garb. And then finally, we have the Igbo tribe from Nigeria and their traditional wedding outfits. And I think it's important to see that plurality and the color and the beauty, and being able to take these things from pop culture, from our cultures, and really turn them into interesting bits and pieces of storytelling within game development, within game design, and sort of showing that individuality and really highlighting specific features of each culture on their own as that culture, while putting that in the game, which I think a lot of studios on the continent are doing, which I'm quite excited about, you know? Finally, I want to talk about the plurality of Blackness and the plurality of different storytelling, because I think that that's a very huge thing. And I think that it's something that we are actively using within our current game, which I can't really talk about, otherwise like a sniper rifle will appear from nowhere and I'll suddenly disappear. But you know, one of the big things for us is to show the plurality of Blackness and the vast multitudes as a people, both on this continent and without this continent that we have. And so here are some of the best things I found. For example, we have huge Black, very good looking nerds out here. We've got a man dressed as Hawkman, which I stan 100%. We've got Black goths, something that you don't often see in pop culture, you don't see shown, and is almost treated as though, because it's not the popular view or the thing that you see the most, they're not really Black. And so I just wanted to show that and how beautiful she looks, and like she can also maybe just, anybody knows who she is, get her to call me. In Botswana, here in Africa, we have Black heavy metal cowboys. It's a weird sort of bringing together, but it shows just that plurality of experiences and the multitudes that we as a people inhabit. And I think I'm very excited for that. We even have, you know, your Weibo anime fans who dress kawaii and like lolitas. And I think that's important to note. So finally, because I'm talking very quickly and making sure I keep in time, because usually my talks run late. This is just like an Afro-punk woman that I thought looked incredible, and she's definitely my style icon. But I think I just want to quickly conclude and wrap up, which is just that because of a lot of structural issues plaguing both the continent and the world at large, because of systemic racism, I think a lot of time and effort is spent discussing and showing the current difficulties and struggles that we have. And I think that that's a vital part in terms of changing our society and making it better, changing it into one where we are actively proud and loving towards our cultures and our heritage, and not just gaining respect for our Blackness by its closeness to whiteness or its respectability. And I think that's vital. But I think a second part, which is very easily overlooked because the first part is so huge and all-encompassing, is that aspirational, Afrofuturistic, Afro sci-fi future is to ask ourselves not only who are we now and why are we proud of ourselves now, but to go, who can we be in the future? What kind of world do we want to create that is specifically tied to our heritage and our identity and our culture? And that's something that we really very strongly embody in the kind of games that we want to make at Nyamakop. I think that for me, it's very important to create stories where we are shown, I keep saying this, but it is literally my mantra, pridefully, powerfully, have that power fantasy, that moment like when you're watching Black Panther and you see an element of your culture shown on screen, but without it just being a hodgepodge of Africanness as its own distinctive thing, so that you can be proud of where you come from, and still making incredible games that everyone can enjoy and play, because everyone is excited for new stories from different perspectives. Our time is now. Finally, as my Lord and Savior, Beyonce Knowles once said, the next Bill Gates would be on Section 8 up in the projects. And that's true for Africa too. We're not the dark, savage, scary continent. We're technologically advanced, we're exciting, we're doing incredible things. And the world better get ready, because that's who we are, and that's Nyamakop, that's our vision. African-inspired game for a global audience, made by African people of color. I'm gonna stop talking now. I love you all. Good night. I hope you enjoyed my 7 minutes of talking about whatever the hell I want.
I did so much. Your 10 minutes. Yes.
Knew it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Amazing. So now it's a very, very good teaser for your game now. And thank you. Cheers. And also thank you for the transition. Just before I would like to thank someone, because without her, I wouldn't have been able to meet any of you and to have the chance to be here today and with you all. It's Cité and Cube, who really, really, really gave me a lot of contacts and helped me a lot to meet Hugo, Eyram, you, because you are on the website proserium.net.
Yeah. I'm such a huge Sita fan. She's incredible.
Yeah, and I love her project, Sita. I love the project you are doing, proserium.net, which is the project is to gather 1,000 women game developers in Africa before 2024. So I will follow all the time, and thanks to her that I also discover your work. Thank you so much. I just wanted, because I know Letiart is also working on different type of African representation. Perhaps Eyram, you would like to say something after the presentation of Limpho, because I was thinking a lot of your heroes.
Yes.
And also trying to show the diversity of African culture. And for sure, that's true. Here in Togo, there are like so many languages, and I don't know anything, and we are all like that. So if you want to.
Yes, so perfect. I think we are all doing virtually the same, and we need more and more and more of makers and game developers in the entertainment space. So for us, I think that history of Africa is too interesting to be left the way it is, and we can use games and comics and all that to preserve culture. And just as Hugo said, the same problem cuts across. Skill set is the major problem. You know, I always put funding last, very last. It's actually skill set, the culture of Africans, then infrastructure before funding. And if the top three are fixed, funding will just scale it as it is. So yes, so Africa's legends, as you saw, is in comics and video games. And basically we brought on comics because the industry is a collective one. Gaming cuts across every industry and it enables all industries around it. Comic artists, animation, story writers, film producers, everyone is necessary in the space. So when we started making games, we realized that there were other industries also growing at the same pace, or some were even more ahead than the others. And artists actually that we brought on board were skilled artists, but they didn't know game art. So we had to retrain them. Everyone that comes to join the team has to undergo retraining. So just as what Hugo talked about, we also have an internship program because we kept training and training everyone because we are all self-taught. I'm self-taught from scratch. I published my book on how I became what I'm doing, right? So everyone is self-taught, and we had to retrain until we made a standard curriculum. And I just published a video game design course with one of the universities online during this COVID period, just to make that official in the university. So actually looking at these artists, we realized that what can we also give them which comes easier to them whilst they learn how to make video games. And what comes easier, which is closer to what we are doing, and that was the comics. And comics is also a huge industry which I grew up with. I fell in love with comics first before video games. So and the comics will also work like just Marvel, DC, where the characters are carried through the comics with the storyline, and then we now make a game for the story. So that's how come we started building comics. And Africa's Legends as an initiative is a collective thing, right? It's everyone in Africa is a legend. And we have too many issues on the continent to tell, right? We have villains, and you saw in the video, I brought on a white man, not because he's a white man, but because it's, because the role that character was playing as a villain was actually a villain.
Look, to be fair, I think don't be scared. I often refer to my creative director as a colonizer and a villain. So.
A colonizer, So that's how come Africa's Legends is so important to us, because once we bring on board that, we can use the issues that are happening, child trafficking, greed in politics, religious wars, corrupt pastors, corrupt religion, all these issues can be represented as villains in the fantasy world. And then we loosely tie the boring facts, which is the historic characters. Imagine reading about Mansa Musa, reading about Shaka Zulu. It's boring. You look at history books, it's preserved in a very boring form. But if we loosely tie a superhero that draws strength from Shaka Zulu's maybe attack strategy or Anansi's life strategy, then we can. Yes, Isabelle.
Time is over, sorry.
She's just gonna cut in right there.
That's the issue of Africa's Legends. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. No, I didn't want to interrupt you. I would be so happy to go on. Just to tell you that Cité will have a presentation tomorrow in the Amaze program. So again, thank you so much. It was great to see you. I will follow. And also, I hope we will be all able to work together, because here in Togo, we have a project to perhaps go towards video game training programs that would be available for all the region. So with your help.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every time. Ever ready.
Sure.
Thank you so much. And have a beautiful day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Very much.